Hello, my name is Tina, and I'm so excited that I'm on the show. And if you're diving in, you're going to hear my story, how I did in professional sports, how my life changed when I lived in a third world country, and what I'm going to do to help you to have prosperity in your life.
Now, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, your premium destination for discovering transformative stories that inspire action and success. I'm your host, Taruvinga, and today we're going to be diving into a narrative that's as compelling as it is motivational. Now, Tina, how are you doing today?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much. How are you?
I am doing a fantastic. I'm really excited for this conversation today. And obviously, knowing about your journey and everything else that you've been through, I know this is going to be one episode for the books. Now, for those that are watching right now, help me welcome Tina. And while you're at it, I want you to imagine having to transition from an adrenaline-fueled world of professional athletics to actually facing a life-altering diagnosis that could have ended it all. And that's what our guest faced. And she faced that challenge, but she actually conquered it, emerging stronger and more determined than ever. Now, Tina is a former World Cup athlete and now international speaker, performance coach, and also a dream life mentor. And her journey from the heights of the sporting arena to overcoming all these injuries and overcoming paralysis, she now empowers others to achieve their dreams. And I think this is nothing short of extraordinary. And that's the reason why we've brought her onto the show today, so we can explore her journey and what it is that she is now doing to help others. So in this episode, we're going to explore Tina's past, her current endeavors, the clients that she serves, and also the unique methods that she employs to facilitate this transformation in others. And we also uncover an intriguing fact about her that actually adds yet another layer to her multifaceted persona. So stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss this little tidbit. So I encourage you to grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and prepare to be inspired. And as you listen to this podcast, when I talk to Tina, if Tina's story resonates with you, I want you to drop a muscle, that muscle emoji in the comments, just to show your support. Share your own journey of resilience if you've got one. Okay, so I'm hoping to see you in the comments there and learning a little bit about your stories. And if you're lucky, Tina might actually respond to some of the comments there and also cheer you on as you go. But Tina, obviously, this is all about you, not about the people putting emojis in the comments there. You started off at the height of your athletic career. Tell us a little bit about those days and basically how life was like for you.
First of all, let me say that was such a beautiful introduction. I could not stop listening to you. Like, wow, that sounds so good. I mean, being like part of that life, let's say it that way. I just lived it. For me, it's all normal, but listening to it in such beautiful words, like, wow. So, well, for me, being an athlete, I mean, when you're being an athlete, you're very young. You're not really thinking much about what you're doing. You're just doing it. And for me, there were a lot of learning, looking backwards. You have to learn about accountability because you have to show up. If you want to win, you show up, and you show up daily, and there is no questioning. So like this little, the little voice that says like, yeah, but maybe I'm not like willing, today's sunny, I want to do something else. You completely erase that voice. It's not there. I mean, of course it's there, but you ignore it. You just do it. because you work towards a goal. And I think this is something that taught me so much about life, and this dedication to one goal, and not consciously knowing, but understanding that choosing one thing means paying the price of not choosing something else. And I think this is something that is so, so valuable in any part of your life, because it makes you just, not question these decisions that you have to do in order to move forward, because you're not getting distracted so easily. So I think this is something that, looking back, I took away from sports that was amazing. By then, it wasn't always fancy, of course. Like your friends go out and they have fun and you sit at home because next day, you have like, I don't know, 6, 7 hours of physical training. And if you go out, and especially if you drink something, you're not gonna make it through that, at least not at the level at where you want to be or should be. So these choices, they were hard at that time, but of course they made me move forward fast because I took them. And I think I did not regret them most of the time. Just normal. I'm a person, I was young, and sometimes you're like, ugh. So that was a big part. Also, I was doing individual sports, meaning like I'm fighting for myself. There were moments of feeling alone, like especially when there was something that wasn't doing so well, you were not doing so well, and there were little people that you could share this, because if you share it with your competition, they're gonna say like, "Yeah, good for me," which is true and is understandable. But I think in individual sports, you being alone is part of the journey too. And you have to really be selective about the people you share with and what you share with them. This is also something that I learned, that I have to really take good care of my energy. At that time, unfortunately, I didn't care so much about my body. I just went all in. That came later in my life to understand that this is also something that I maybe should have done. I didn't. But all in all, the sports time, it was great. Not because of what I did, but because of what it made me.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that part of your journey, and also having gone through that journey in and of itself. So how did you get involved in the sports that you're doing? Like, is it something that you would just do on the weekends, or is it something that was predestined as a kid?
Um, I'm Austrian originally, and as Austria, like the mountain people, we do skiing, every one of us. And I think that they would have liked to see me, like my family, being a ski racer, but I didn't like it so much. I remember my first slalom training, this big thing. I was like, oh my God, all these gates, what am I going to do with that? So maybe at that time there were no like speed competitions, like, just downhill or something for the kids. Maybe if that would have been the case, I would have loved it, because that's obviously what I always loved, like going speed, not too many turns, just let it go. But at that time, I was just like, that's not my thing.
Mm.
How I came into sports, I was studying, and I always felt like I'm a bit chubby. I wasn't really chubby, but I thought I was chubby. And I knew that sports would help me. So I got into sports, and the time next to university, I was doing like snowboard teaching. I taught others how to ride a snowboard. And from there, they said like, yeah, you should compete. Let's go to this competition. And I was like, okay, let's go to the competition. Why not? And I won. And I was like, whoa, that's fancy. Like, I didn't feel like something special, but that was cool. And I was like, maybe that'd be fun to train a little bit and see where it takes me. So this is where it took me, and this is how it started. It's a very honest and raw story. It started with me feeling chubby.
Absolutely. Now, did you feel like maybe the world, other kids, or society was looking at you weird because of the way you look?
I wasn't really chubby. It was just me thinking that I was. I was maybe like 5 kilos more than I wanted to be. So, it was really my perception. I wasn't really big
Mm,
at that time. I
absolutely.
was critical with myself. Can
Absolutely.
say it that way.
And the most interesting thing about that is that something that just happened to Tina, or is it something that actually happens to a lot of people, that we amplify something that we think of ourselves and we think the worst without actually giving ourselves a chance?
I think that we are the worst judges of ourselves. I mean, we are so critical and we are so hard with ourselves. And that was something that I had to learn very much later in my life, that that isn't what I need to do. But at that time, of course, I didn't know. I had to go through that process. And I remember, and sometimes I still have to, like, take myself and say, like, hello, be nice with yourself. I was super critical. I was really the worst at myself and kind of nice with others. And I think this is something that 99% of the people do almost. So we are
Mm,
so self-critical. We are not kind when I don't want to say fuck up, because that's obviously something didn't work, but we push ourselves down and we like crucify ourselves almost for something that is natural. Like when you are in this process a little longer, then at some point you just understand that failure, I want to say failure because not really failure, it's just part of the journey. You just
mm,
learn that this didn't work and you have to figure out something else. And the more you get in alignment with yourself and with what you do and understanding who you are, the less you will take the failure steps, because you will understand from the beginning, that's not for me. But at the beginning, like, you try, and this is how you find out that's not for me. So maybe we should tell people, especially in their young ages, try everything. And if it doesn't work, you just know that's not for you, but it's not a failure. And I think,
mm.
like, all over this, it happens for everything. It happens for business, it happens for health, for beauty. Especially young women are very, very tempted to be very hard on their self perception.
Absolutely. And the reason why I really highlighted this aspect was the sport that you ventured into. That was an individual sport, which basically meant you didn't have other, teammates telling you, nah, you're right, you did well, you know what I mean? So you would have been, if something didn't go well, you would have been very self-critical at the end of a training session or and a game or some sort of competition and things of that nature. What was that like for you?
Um, I don't really remember how it was specifically, but I know that um, like in the whole time of my life, like not winning was very hard for me, and I was really like kind of almost mad at myself. And instead of just giving, like, even if I promised myself time off because I knew that I trained very hard, I would even quit on time off and train harder. So it was like not permitting my body to rest, but instead pushing myself further because I knew I could. This is something else that you learn in sport. There are very few limitations to where you can take yourself, the training, your body. So this is just like, there is a limit, but once you pushed over the limit, it seems to be limitless. It goes everywhere. You just need to like find the dedication to push yourself there. And I think this is something that by then I dove deep into. So every time that I think I failed or I did something wrong, I wasn't good enough, I pushed myself harder instead of just taking the time, resetting, and maybe thinking, okay, maybe there's another way, instead of like, I don't even know, overpowering myself.
Mm,
I don't know if at that time I would say I overpowered myself, because it felt all okay. And this is why I'm saying there is no particular limit until the time when the body shuts down. So you can't push yourself, basically. You shouldn't. That's the thing.
absolutely. And just give us a glimpse of what your career highlights were, and what was it like at the apex of your career,
In the sports or
Yes,
generally?
in sports, yeah.
In sports, for me, actually, there was a race that I thought was very important for me, and I won. And I was going there. I already thought I'm going to win this. And there was no doubt. So I learned also the no doubt mindset that I'm teaching people. Like, when you know this is going to happen, it's fairly likely that it will happen. So I won it, and I was sitting in my car going back home, and the goblet was sitting next to me. And it sounded like a highlight because I won this competition. But then this thing was next to me, and I was like, whoa, I mean, that's it? Like, I thought I'm going to be super happy and something shifts in my life and I would be like fulfilled. I wasn't. I felt just like the day before, just having a goblet sitting next to me. And I was like, whoa, I think maybe that isn't the final destination. So maybe I should look into something else because I thought this is going to make me really happy. It didn't. So what is happiness? Because if this was happiness, that wasn't enough for me. And that actually started my journey out of sports to do something else. So it was a good moment also in my life. But from that moment on, even though I was on podium or anything, it wasn't the same anymore because I already experienced it doesn't give me what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. But you see, the thing about sports people, I've heard, Kobe Bryant would do 1,000 made shots every single time so that by the time he gets into a game, he could do 10 easily or whatever he can do easily. Is it maybe because you'd already rehearsed this moment in your head so much? Like you said, you've got this mindset of no doubt and it will happen, it will happen. And when you actually had to achieve the day, your brain had already celebrated this moment so many times over and over, you were now just going through the motions.
It's possible. It's possible. I don't know that because at that time I was for sure not able to think of it that way. But I'm happy that I didn't know that because otherwise my path would have probably been completely different from what it is now. And I like what I did and I like what I'm doing. So I can only say thank you that it was just like this.
Absolutely. So when you got into your car, you drove away, and so did you drive away with your career and everything else.
I think that
Where did you go?
I went to to a poor country, a third world country. I didn't know that immediately, but I was sent on a mandatory vacation because I was training too much, and other people started to realize I'm doing too much. So they sent me on a mandatory vacation, and I chose one of the first flights that I found, and that was Latin America. I was very, very happy. Like the people had nothing, but they were so happy. Like they were happy from some place that I didn't know where that happiness was coming from. And like with nothing, I live in a world like I think also Australia and the United States, like the first world, we have material possessions. We're happy because we have stuff sometimes, but they had nothing. And they were still so happy, dancing on the street, singing, and then sharing everything. And I was like, I need to learn this. I need to have this in addition to what I have, and that's going to make a difference. And that is when I decided that I'm going to move to a third world country for some time, and I'm going to learn this. And that's what I did. That was my next step on my path to go to these countries, to live in their conditions and to understand or to try to understand what does make the difference for them and where the happiness comes from if it's not coming from money and material possessions, but it's coming from the heart and from some inner stuff that drives you to not compare yourself, but just be made a big difference in my life. I didn't learn everything, but for me, it was such a big moment to really connect with these people and to learn that it's all about people and all about togetherness and that love is coming from a different place and it has nothing to do with society, with status or anything. And that was very, very important part. And also it's naturally preceded me into my next step of my career because Latinos, they know how to flirt. And this is why I became a relationship coach.
But besides that, I mean, obviously, let's just maybe have a quick glimpse of what was this happiness that you're talking about? Like maybe just walk us through a typical day of yourself. You get up, go to the market. What would you come across, and what really stood out for you?
So it was in the morning, like I was living with a family, their conditions. We didn't even have glasses in the windows. So it was really like the very different experience. Sometimes we didn't have water and we had to bring it from somewhere, or it was like the funniest moment was I didn't know how to flush the toilet. And so I tried to find restaurants and other places to go to the toilets for a while until I saw someone flushing. I said, yay, I can go to the toilet here. So it's really like all of this thing. And so my first thing in the morning was drinking a cup of coffee with the mother of this house. Like, going outside, sitting at the veranda in the rocking chairs, and then just having a conversation. And her taking the time out of her day and trying to have a conversation with me, because I wasn't speaking Spanish very well. At the beginning, I wasn't speaking Spanish. So they just sat with me and had the patience to try to understand me. And I was trying to understand them. And even though we just sat together and maybe we didn't even understand everything that we were saying with words, there was so much that we were still sharing about who are you and who am I. But just because I am, I don't have to say, I don't have, because that was another part that was so important to me. This culture, they are so different. So like what I knew would work to intrigue people, that didn't work there. They didn't even understand this. So I was in a place where the rules that I knew, they were not working. So I had to understand my own rules. I had to make up or come up with my own rules. How would Tina naturally react to something? Because what my reactions that I learned from home from Austria didn't make a big deal there. So who am I? That was the thing for me to find out. And these people, they accepted everything that I was and spent time with me and just loved me for who I am. So the first thing was like being with them at the terrace, drinking coffee. Then I went to the market and, I just saw people in their natural environments. And a big part of what they had was taking time with each other, talking. They were not basically very stressed. So stress seemed something, I mean, of course, it's also the system, but the lack of money also takes away a lot of stress. I have the feeling. So, and also the communication between the people, it was always like with a smile, with a little fun. And I don't think that I understood everything, but just being in this energy and taking it in me and feeling how that would make a difference in your life, it changed very much. Yeah, then I was spending a little bit of time on the beach. Then I was cooking. I was helping in the house, like I was washing, cleaning dishes. I was helping with the cooking. And then we again sat and spent time together. We're drinking a juice or just talking. Or we'd sat there and looking at the journal because there were pictures. And then we tried to explain what's on the pictures. So I learned a bit of Spanish. And these people, they just took it out of their day and took time to just be with me. And this understanding of the differences and accepting of differences and the huge smiles that came from their hearts, not because of what they thought I am, but of just who I figured out I am. And I think this is what made the whole difference there. It wasn't an exciting day. You cannot imagine like fancy things, but the experience was just incredible. And then sometimes, of course, we went for dancing, which was yay.
Absolutely. No, you see, the thing is, I also come from a place like that, Tina, Africa, where it seems like it's all smiles and everything else. But I viscerally believe it's only because people don't have, all these things that are holding them back and, taking much of their time. Because if you buy a car, you're going to need insurance for it. You're going to need fuel for it. All of those things, you're going to have to talk to people in order for you to get all of those things. And that just adds on to the stress. And if you don't have any of that, you've taken away maybe 50 people that you would have spoken to. on that particular event. And so you can only imagine there's fewer interactions, but they make them meaningful. Whereas in these worlds that we're living in, there's so many meaningless interactions just for you to get a morning cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
You see now, so maybe that could have been the thing. So, what were some of the biggest highlights for you while you were out there? I mean, obviously, you did mention, there were a lot of floods there. I think I cut you off before you finished your story there.
The highlights in this like other environment was really to be in need to discover myself a little bit more, because
Mm.
everything that, not even the hand signs were the same like where I come from. So I was really like set off to a complete different environment where I had to figure out myself new as for who I am and who I would be if I didn't know it. I didn't know how to react. How would Tina react? What would Tina do? And not because she thinks to get this or that reaction, because she didn't know what reaction would come up. So she just had to try. Like it was like a complete start at zero. Also because I didn't really speak the language. So for
That's
me, it would be like starting, but in this starting, I discovered myself, because I discovered that there was more than I learned, like initially, that there were
mm,
so many other ways that I could react or be. And this, just understanding this and also having so much time to really think about everything about myself, why I'm doing this, how am I doing this, how do I want to do this, how could I do this maybe differently. So this was such an incredible explorative journey for myself, and that I cannot even sorry, I cannot even tell you about what other people brought to me, because the story that happened in myself, like the transformation, that was so big already. And of course, it was just possible because of this environment, because of these people, because of what they brought to my day, and because of showing me that there's so much more, and there's so much more like possibilities. When I think, of course, they don't have the same rules like we have. Like for us, if we have a replacement uh, particle of a car, it has to be whether the same brand or a specific replacement thing. So they took a cup, like a tin, and they break it off, and they just did some things, and they put it in the car, and it still worked. I was like, oh, okay. But that also, my mom was like, oh my God, there's so many possibilities in this world, that we in the modern world, because we have all the tools available, we don't even look at those, but they are so creative. So I think this part of my journey also gave me a lot of permission to be creative, like
mm.
to really think outside of the box.
I like that. You know why I like that so much? Because I lived in Germany for a little bit, and there's that German precision. You're talking about cars. You've got the autobahn, no speed limit. You can imagine driving a Porsche that's got, maybe duct tape on the pipes. No, it would burst, all right? So it has to have the right equipment and the right everything else. And for you to then have all of that, and maybe part of the things that would have surprised you is the way people ride on transport, or maybe at the back of a pickup truck, and all of those things would not have been present back home. And thank you so much for sharing that joy with us, because it really showcases and highlights the journey that you took, and where you now are taking other people, because now you've got a whole different perspective and perception of what is possible, especially with the human mind. You've been to the highest heights, especially with your skiing, and you've been to the lowest lows, when you lived in poverty, and everything else in between, moving forward. And what happened after your trip to the third world?
I think there was a lot of integration. How can I bring this all together in my environment? I must say it wasn't very simple. Like, I have heard a beautiful metaphor once, and this person said she came back from somewhere where she was, and at home they tried to fit her in the same box that she was in before. And I think this is what happened, or what happens to everyone. If you expand yourself, you just don't fit in the same box any longer. So you come back, people look at you because they don't know about your transformation. And even though they did know, they wouldn't understand because it was yours. You own it. They don't. So they have to like spend time with you to understand who you are now. For them, you're just you, the same person that left some time ago. And so they act and react to the person that you have been before. And I think it's very difficult. And I think this is also why it's so difficult if you just make one seminar weekend and you come home and the transformation to be sustainable, because the world around you is not adjusted to you and they try to press you in the same box. And if you're not yet grown enough to hold the boundaries that are new to you, then you will get in the same box again. So I think that was the most difficult. And fortunately, I have spent enough time there to be aware of, I do not want to shrink myself back into these boxes, and also strong enough, maybe also because of the sport, to say no to these events. But it wasn't an easy time, I have to say, to really like try to bring what I learned into where I was and come back. And I think yes, for sometimes I just also spent a lot of time alone because it was easier then to get back to what I learned, not losing it. And then I had to feel, okay, now I can go out again because I have the power and the internal strength to hold up my space, even though they try to limit this again. And this is where I understood, no, a job doesn't work for me because I would have to go out every day, no matter if I was ready for it or not. So I thought like, okay, I have to do something that would fit into who I am now. And this is when I thought also like coming back and I saw how people were acting still at home. Of course, they were not going to any third world country. They were still the same. I was like, I would like to bring a little bit of this into this world. And then I was like, okay, let's do some coaching education. Let's dive deeper into this and see what I can do. Maybe I can help a lot of people out there. Maybe the world would be so much better if many people would have like the two. I'm not saying one thing is better than the other. I think both make you whole, not just this or that. You can have everything and then you can choose who you want to be. And that's the best, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I went to do these educations, and because I didn't know how to start, I asked people, what do you think I should do when I'm done with the education? And they said, like, hey, you're good at flirting. Let's do this. I mean, let's start with this. And this is how I became Austria's first relationship coach. Because I started to do seminars for learning, but also I was the columnist for the biggest online dating platform in Austria, which is called was called Lavate. It doesn't exist anymore. And I was helping people over the flirt process online, which was not known by then. It was pretty new, online. The internet didn't exist forever by then. So I dove into that, and actually that being willing to do something that no one ever did before, like being an online flirt coach. And that also brought me some fame, kind of like people were like, oh my God, that exists. And the news were interested in me. And yeah, then I wrote a book about that too, actually. And that was the part of the career when I started like as a flirt coach, and then I did the transition to relationship coach because once you're flirting, but then you go into the relationship and you end up having some troubles there.
So
And
what sort of problems were people facing that they required a flirt coach?
I think it's like many people, they didn't know what to say on this dating apps because it's really difficult, especially with this zero, like this standard profiles when people don't give anything. Because I think I think you make it easy for other people if you put a little bit of a personal flavor into
Right.
your profile, if you have that. Because it's easy for other people, first of all, to know if you are the right person for them. Second, to make a connection with you. If you don't have any of this, if you just have your whatever outside things, you're limited. You can say you have a nice smile, but that's basically it. Like from your features, you would be a fit, but yeah. And so I think what I work with most with people is overcoming the fear of saying the wrong thing. Like just thinking that there could be something that is wrong. Because
Mm.
personally, I think if it's the person, like your person, it doesn't matter what you say, it's gonna be okay. And if it's not your person, hey, you just know it right away. It's great.
Mm. Is it
So
one thing that I've noticed is German people are very precise, and people, especially in Austria, they sort of like the same as well. A lot of really, really rich people live in the Austrian Alps and things of that nature. Could that have been the reason because of that whole situation of the character of what being Austrian German sort of is as is known in the outside world that made it hard for people to communicate or just give as much information about themselves as possible?
I'm not really sure about this. I think, like, having not only talked to German and Austrian people about dating, that this is a not a worldwide problem because honestly, in Latinos, they don't have this problem at all. But they don't have like their mindset is completely different. Like in let's say Western countries, you see someone on this dating app or so or dating thing, and you think, wow, that could be the one. And in all like Latino countries, like the one does exist later. Like now we have to just make sure that she's going to go for one drink with us, and there can be plenty. So
Yeah.
like they're not giving up. Like you go out, he asks this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And if this one also says no, then he asks another one. And he doesn't even feel like he's getting rejected or anything. He feels like, okay, next. But this perception of rejection in our world, this is so heavy that these other people, they just don't have it. They don't think in terms of that. Like this is just the first contact and it's a first yes or no. And they don't even take it personally. They think like, well, maybe she had a bad day. They didn't even think that his physics was not attractive enough. Not even that. She had a bad day. She had a boyfriend, anything. Doesn't matter. He just keeps going until he gets a yes. And this is like, I think at the beginning, and especially in these times, they put too much pressure on the first rejection. They didn't see it as just an initial initiative to say hello, and then whether it's reciprocated or not. That's it. It's nothing more than that. So if you imagine before you even start, you marrying that person, that's going to be complicated. So you can imagine your marriage, but not with a particular person at that time. That'd be a great help, in my
Mm.
opinion. So I think this is something that was what many people were dealing with. And then, of course, the what do they say? And to be honest, I mean, like I have heard so many things in bars or like stupid things also in dating. And I mean, if the stupidest thing ever is brought with the best energy, it can still work because
Absolutely.
it's not about what, it's the how you're going to say it and how you show up for this. And if you show up in a loving way, in an open way, and you just say one stupid thing, she's going to maybe say, like, and it's okay. And the same is for women. It's the same. Like, the way you show up is way more important than what you say. And from
Mm.
there, yeah, I think.
Absolutely. And also now you are focusing on helping others to really achieve their dreams. What does that entail?
I think the dream can be everything, and it depends on where you live in your, I call it the sustainable pain zone.
Okay.
It's, it's normally called the comfort zone, but I personally think it's not comfortable in the comfort zone. So I prefer calling it the sustainable pain zone. So wherever you are a little stuck in your life and you don't know the way out, or you just say, yeah, I'm going to do it tomorrow, that procrastination in some way. This is where you want to go, but you normally also have some fears, some things, some patterns that you're not looking at that prevents you from taking an action step. And the bigger the dream, the more the fear normally, but also the excuses, because in our mind, normally fear doesn't show up as fear. It shows up as an excuse for why I cannot do it today, or why is not the right time, or why I don't have enough money, or whatever it is that your mind is going to keep telling you. So, for example, the best example is a diet. I'm going to start on Monday or after my mother's birthday, or, all these things. But in fact, like if you would start today, and let's say your mother's birthday is in 2 weeks, you have already 1.5 weeks done the job. And then one day will not take you off track. You can continue after that one day. So, and this is the mindset of how we trick ourselves into staying in this place that we don't feel comfortable in, but that we're so frightened to escape. In relationships, for example, it's, will I ever find someone again? Now, at least I am in a relationship. Yeah, it's not fancy. It's not what I wished it to be, but at least I have someone. So, and the fear is being alone. And you have to just really help people to see that that's not the worst place to be. I mean, no one wants to be alone. We all want this great relationship things. But honestly, if you're in the wrong relationship with the wrong person, you feel really not good there. And the question is, would I not feel better alone? And nothing, waiting, preparing for the right person to arrive. And the same is for business, because that's the three areas that I cover, like life, business. Like if I'm not feeling good in the place where I am, that might be the job or whatever it is in my life, and I'm staying there, I'm holding on to something that drains me, that takes away energy. But energy is life. Like life cannot be described as anything else other than the energy that we are, that we radiate out in this world. And if I'm feeling happy, I'm going to be received differently with other people, and I'm going to resonate with different people than if I'm grumpy and I'm low energy all the time. So the deal in life is bring out the best version of yourself always and at any time. And if something is holding you back, get rid of this, because you deserve the best life ever. Always, at any time.
I like that. Have you ever flown in a low-cost airplane where they have really cheap seats, but if you exceed the luggage by 1 kilogram or by 2 kilograms, you actually end up paying for 3 or 4 seats just for that little piece of luggage. So a lot of people are traveling heavy and not knowing that it's going to cost them. And that's exactly what you're saying there, that, if there's something that's bothering you for the day, just let that go so that other people can actually, be open to your aura and, your energy and things of that nature. Now, if somebody is looking to enhance their life or maybe start getting freedom of choice and not having excuses like you're saying, what would be the best way that they can get in touch with you?
The best is to go to my website. It's www.tinaenglisch. It's spelled TINAENGLISCH.com. Very important, CH, because in English it's only SH. Or on my social media links is, all the handles are like /Tina English, the same spelling. Best is obviously not necessarily Instagram, but LinkedIn or Facebook.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that those links are in the show notes below. Now, you mentioned one thing when we were sort of getting started, and you said choosing one thing meant having to pay the price for not doing something. All right. And, your journey, you've been in many arenas, you've been at the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and also, some other challenges that you had to go through in your life. And knowing what you know now, what does freedom of choice actually mean to you when you have this world knowledge of knowing what it's like to have it all and have nothing, still be able to have freedom of choice?
I think the most important thing for me would be to say I can be, and the people that are with me, that support me just the way I am, and that I can do that every time and always, and that I don't have to shrink, that I don't have to be someone else, that I don't have to put a mask. I think this is the biggest freedom of choice, to choose my environment, to choose where I am. I'm not necessarily talking about money. Yes, money enables you to do that. If you have money, you are not limited in where you go. But the freedom is to choose the environment and to choose the people and to make the best life that you can imagine for yourself. And I think when you really start to embrace that, it gets better than you can imagine right now.
But if it sounds simple, but why is that difficult for people to achieve?
Because I think, especially with the environment, I don't even, I'm looking at myself. It was a journey. I didn't know it in the first day. So evolving and growing bigger and bigger just made me aware of how much people can take away, even we love them and even they love us. So in the name of love, many crucial things are done. And I think that this is what we have to understand, that even if we say no to a situation or to a person, it doesn't mean that we don't love the person or that we don't love the situation or like this. But we need to choose ourselves before something that is draining us. And I think this is the hardest step to take, to say no to someone or something that you love because you choose yourself. And I think learning this, once you arrive at a point where you say, okay, I choose myself first, and then I choose everything else around me. Like by that, I already choose everything around me. When you understand this, your life's going to change.
And I mean, obviously, as you have mentioned, when you start going on this journey, there's going to be a lot of people trying to draw you back, pull you back to where it was before, in a place where it was comfortable for them, and really trying to put you back in that little box, like you said. How have you, since you haven't been back, been able to maintain, first of all, the energy? I'm feeling it all the way from France there, and just the motivation when you're faced with new challenges and just keep going in order for you to now really step into this new person that you've become.
I think it's not a straight way forward. It's a way with setbacks. But
Mm.
the most important part is realizing and allowing that there was a setback and say, that's okay. Not beating myself up because I failed, but knowing, having learned where I have to pay more attention and then focus a little bit on not losing it in the same way again. I think this is the thing, that not making the same mistake again, even though I don't want to say mistake. It's just, like for me, and I don't want to say it negatively because it was really a journey of listening better to the responses of my body because it knows everything and it knows it like at the beginning, and trusting what I feel. Like I feel I don't want to do this. It's worth looking at it. And of course, yes, there might be limiting beliefs and there might be all these things, but you need to take care of that. So this doesn't take away the work of getting rid of all the old stuff that might be still in your head and in your body. But once you do the work to get rid of all these things, then really starting to believe and trust then what you feel. And if your body responds that is not good, it's most likely not good. And it's most likely what you shouldn't do. And then really stepping up for that. Like also, like asking questions. If something doesn't feel aligned with you and you don't understand it, or it doesn't go the way that you hoped it would. Ask questions. Like really empower yourself by standing up, embracing the life that you want. And yes, you have to accept the no, of course, but at least you can ask, like, why? What can I do to change that? You can at least try. If it's coming a second time, a third time, okay, you give up or you search another. You don't give up. You search another path for the same thing. But there is this balance about putting yourself in and like really going forward and also making things happen for you and acceptance. And this is what you find on the way. And this is, I think, with a calibration of your body. So it's always like checking in with yourself. How does that feel? Can I do that step? Does it feel all right? Or does it already feel like this door has closed? When the door has closed, don't knock on it. Go and search another door. But if you feel the door is still open, ask what you can do differently. So I think this is the journey of really finding the way from, let's say, the limited person that you have been to the full version of yourself that you want to be and that you deserve to be.
Do you have any sort of advice? Because you keep referring to listening in and things of that nature. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit different, but it's very loud and it's very noisy here in Australia, you know, and phones are ringing, cars are moving on the street, TV's there, the kids want my attention. How would you suggest that somebody listen in?
I think that taking time for yourself is a very important thing. It is for me. So, for example, the first 1 to 2 hours in the morning, they're for me. And it's just time for, like, when I do yoga or something, yoga is time where I also listen in. So I don't mean by listen in, sit there and do meditation. If this is not for you, if it doesn't feel aligned, then do something else. But do something where you give your thoughts permission to do their own thing. Like if, for example, if you're in the kitchen and you just cut something, you don't have to think for every cut that you're doing. So you allow at the same time your mind and your thoughts to do whatever they do. And in this moment, you also allow your feelings to expand and to show up in some way. And so do something that is boring or seems boring, or just sit and do nothing, or do gardening. Do something where you don't have to like mentally engage yourself, where you don't have to think and concentrate. Just don't cut yourself when you cut something.
Yeah, because I was thinking if you're cutting, you know, just don't think.
And then feel. Allow yourself to feel. Because I think this is something important to say. Allow yourself to feel. Because I think that is what we don't do. We don't allow ourselves to feel a lot. We cut ourselves better off feelings because feeling might be overwhelming. But there is your point of recognition. It's your feelings. It's the only way how you can communicate with your body. So allow yourself the feelings that you feel. Ask yourself questions, but spend this time with you. And from there, it's going to arise. Not maybe in the first time, not maybe in the first week, but at one point you start to feel. And there is where you can go with.
Absolutely. Now, Tina, I mean, we could go on and on. Your life story just reads like a book. And speaking of that, I think you owe us a book. Is there anything that you're working on that we should be excited about, you know, moving forward, you know, now that we know where you are and what it is that you've done with your life?
I have written a book this summer. It's in editing right now. It's called Escaping the Sustainable Pain Zone. And it covers basically what we have been talking about, like really leaving this zone where you are in, where you don't really want to be in, and moving out and getting your dream life. So this is what I'm currently working on. And let's see what the next projects are going to be. I'm also like looking forward with curiosity what I'm coming up with.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm really excited about this. I mean, obviously, if you're writing a book, you're going to have to come back on the Online Prosperity Show so we can talk about this book.
I'd love to. I love to.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this enlightening episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I mean, your journey from all these athletic triumphs to your own personal transformation just exemplifies the power of resilience and the pursuit of true fulfillment. So, first of all, thank you for sharing that with us today, but also thank you for allowing yourself to go on that journey and being present enough to be able to retell the story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure. I loved it. And I think the thanking ourselves, because I love these words, so I'm going to pick up on them. We should really embrace that every day. Thank yourself for something that you did, that you are, and for that you're here and that you're still on this journey every day. Thank
Oh,
you.
fantastic. I'm really excited about what's going to be in the future for you. And I can't just wait for the book to show up. Okay. And for those that are watching right now, if Tina's story inspired you, we didn't even cover the half of it. We just went, on the surface level. I encourage you to check the links below and you will find for yourself, all the trials and tribulations that she actually went through, which will basically get you to really appreciate the person that she has become. And if you found value in what we're obviously offering here, I encourage you to maybe share this episode with somebody who could benefit from Tina's insights, because there's so many of us that are just maybe caught up in our world, and maybe we're out there just achieving goals that at the end of the day might mean nothing to ourselves, to our loved ones, and we would have missed out on having created maybe relationships that Tina is, making people start to embark on, and maybe build a business along the way that would then sustain all the happiness that comes along with it. Okay, so there could be somebody that could fit that bill. Show them this episode or just send them the links that are in the bottom, and I bet Tina will be there to embrace them with both arms. Now, stay tuned for our next episode, where we're going to be exploring innovative ideas to enhance your happiness and well-being. Until next time, keep striving for prosperity in all areas of your life. Bye for now.